So hello, our small intrepid group here. Thank you for coming. So I'm Terry Bennett, and this is Katie, and she'll introduce herself in a minute. She should also be listed as a co-presenter in the program, so I'm sorry that didn't happen. So we'll introduce ourselves a little bit and then kind of show you an overview of what we hope to talk about, but we hope that you'll ask us a lot of questions along the way, and we're going to make you be interactive for a little part of this. So I'm the chair of the math department at Southern Connecticut State University. We've had at Southern for years and years, we had what we called the tutorial center, which was located in the basement of Engelman Hall, a very small space, very little interaction between. Hi.
Hi, sorry.
No, come in. So the tutorial center primarily did support for math and writing. I don't know about the English department, but I know for the math department we had very little interaction between the math department and the tutorial center.
Same for the writing.
Very little input into how tutors were hired, things like that. And then 2 years ago,
A year and a half, maybe?
and a renovation was done of Dooley Library on campus, and in that building there's a beautiful space called the Academic Success Center, and they hired Katie, who's the director of that center. And so I'm introducing her a little bit, but then I'll let her introduce herself. And so just speaking from the math department, it's been a wonderful, wonderful thing. So there's now this beautiful space for students to go to get academic support, and we have this director who's been very interactive with the disciplinary departments. So we're not going to talk about tutoring today, but one huge change that was made is now all tutors come directly through recommendations from me and the faculty in the math department, which was not happening before.
Yes.
So, but we're going to talk more about SI, which
Yes.
was an initiative that Katie brought. So go, you can introduce yourself.
So I'm Katie Oliveira. I'm the director of the Academic Success Center, as Terry mentioned. So the Academic Success Center, it's a new center. We moved into kind of this new space in the library in the fall semester, so we haven't even been there for a year yet. And it's really exciting. And one of the initiatives that we, so math, we'll talk a little bit more about the needs for math support for the students at Southern. But we had, and we'll talk a little bit about the money pieces and the budgetary pieces within our presentation, but we had a little bit of extra money that was given to us to start what's called supplemental instruction, which in the need for math support, that seemed, again, it seemed like a no-brainer to pilot supplemental instruction with math, and we'll talk about what that is, and we'll go more into detail with that.
So just really quick before we get in, how many people have never heard of supplemental instruction? Has anybody never heard of it? Okay.
Oh.
Okay, that's good, because we're going to hopefully, we're not going to tell you everything, but, and does anybody here use supplemental instruction at their institution?
We do it not that down.
Okay, good.
I am a supplemental instructor.
Oh, great.
I'm curious to see how y'all do it.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk, like Katie said, we're going to talk about our budgetary challenges when we get into how we did it.
That's the biggest challenge.
But we are definitely looking for like a conversation at the end about how other people have done it, any suggestions you have for what we're doing, because we're trying to do this on a limited budget. So our goals are to, for those of you who may have never heard it, sort of tell you a little bit about what it is, what the goals are, how it's different from tutoring, some of the challenges in implementing it, talk a little bit about our particular collaboration and how we've done it so far on the limited, but we'll show you exactly how much money we got, Katie got, and what we've done with it so far. And unfortunately, this is a preliminary presentation because this is the first semester we're doing it, so we don't have a lot. We have some data to show, but we don't have any, certainly we don't have any student performance data yet. Okay, so what we would like to do first is actually simulate supplemental instruction for you. So these are 2 questions. We would like you to get in groups of maybe 3, 4, however you can sort of move yourselves around. Spend 5 minutes discussing these 2 questions. Try to designate someone in your group to be the reporter back. We're interested in your answers, the answers that you generate in your 5-minute discussion. And we're also interested a little bit to hear what some of the disciplines, I'm interested to hear what some of the disciplines are in the room. I know some math people in the room already, but, so we'll take about 5 minutes for you to discuss these questions.
No, I'm not. I have to go. It's just the thing, it will move around. It will move around once it's done.
Okay.
So,
Like if you wanna move around, then you should like be really careful. Just take a record.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Have really low placement scores and they come in and they're like the top students because they have.
Thanks for the nice introduction, that was really
So I
nice.
think they know, I think there's something that we want to have these broad, yeah, kids have. Because you know why you're doing it. So that to me is the biggest thing is why you're doing it.
City, right? I mean, she's not that, I mean, she was maybe be an SI coordinator or something. I think that's perfect. And then I can give a little bit of background, and then sure, that sounds good. And have it jump in if I miss something. And then I can go through the pieces, and then the data.
A lot of them come in the first day.
And we can get into the good stuff first.
Because that's what they did in high school. But that's
I'm
good enough.
interested, because she's doing it at a community college, so I'm interested to hear how they're doing it at a community college.
Outside of class, to work with me, work, you know, working out, work with you, I'll get your questions, you know, whatever.
Okay.
Then you're not going to be successful. Of course, it's whatever you think about yourself. I'm talking about, like, there might be cocky kids in there, and they come in and they think that, you know, and I go, listen, you know, it's going to be, but if you put it aside, you will be successful, but if you can't, then you're not, it's not going to happen. So think about it right now, maybe you need to drop, take the classes on time as this one, but this one's going to take that as one. And the kids that follow that, for the most, they're not for some. Right.
The jumpers that you know they're able in a minute.
If you put the time in and you take
Like, I think
the
the background, like the green, reflects funky on the light.
I think there are some barriers, D's, F's, and L's. Ouch. If you're looking at all of them together, then one of the things that we see a lot is that there's just that material. And when you're trying to light things coming up, D's, F's,
Should we say maybe like a few more, like another minute? At 5 minutes, we say another minute or another 30 seconds?
No, I don't, I'm not saying that. Write it down. But I think that there is the perception.
so maybe one more minute, and then we'll ask you to give us some thoughts.
Why would anyone want to? What does that class look like in comparison to other classes? What, if I were that teacher?
Did you all ever have like a physics teacher that the average grade, like I had a physics teacher, the average grade in the class was 7. And he was just so proud of it, you know, like this is at a university, but he's just like, yeah, you know, 1 point you were gonna make it through. And it would, the kids, and then eventually, there's just some jerks.
Okay, you guys, why don't we bring it back together?
Okay, number 2. Why do we need to get around that? To give them the ability to. Well, and I think to encourage, I think that part is something strong.
You guys feel ready?
Sorry. Right.
Almost ready?
Encouragement. successful student. He can do it.
You guys ready? Almost ready? Yeah.
Phyllis Slater is ready.
It's not fair, she's an SI leader.
Exclusively. Okay. No, I just, they can break down the lecture, they can go into the business instead of standing in front of us on the mic. The instructional support person can say, okay, here's the big question, here's how you do the steps.
Okay, so let's, just so we have time to go through the rest of it, let's just see what some of your groups have come up with. So who's the designated reporter here?
Oh, I am.
Okay.
So some of the reasons that we found why students are not successful, poor study skills, lack of confidence, fear of failure, life, especially for the community college students, life happens and, you know, you're missing a week of class or things like that and then you can't get caught up. Students are afraid to ask for help or not sure where to find help. Inadequate preparation, the foundations are not there.
So let's just stay with the first question. Did your group have anything you want to add to what
No,
they
I think
had?
it's pretty much, balancing work and school. And then the weak academic work habits, embarrassed to get help. And especially in math, there's just, that feeling like I can't do math, I don't know how to do math, so they fear it and then they avoid it. So rather than confronting the fear and trying to get over it, they try to hide from it. And then we also talked about calculator versus number sense. I feel like, unfortunately in the 21st century in high school, we promote, use a calculator, use a calculator, use a calculator, and then they take the AccuPlacer and there is no calculator that's going to do fractions. So then you get that feeling of instant gratification versus do you have a number sense? And how do you address that? Now you're in college, and how do you address, and how do you face the fact that I'm learning how to add fractions in college when this is something that's taught in elementary school? So I think it's like a culmination of things that really create this fear when students enter college.
Does your group have anything you want to add to the
Yes, I'm
first
sorry,
one?
but I didn't hear everything that was said, so I might be repeating. But we talked about the lack of motivation or drive or ambition, grit, which is perseverance. We also said life issues, I did hear that. Some students just don't have the ability to climb the mountain and deal with the frustration. So they haven't learned how to learn. They think that coming to class is enough. They're not prepared to put the time into the learning experience constructively. And then there was an issue that some faculty actually might like to give Ds, Ws, and Fs. And
We kind of had a discussion about
we
that.
went off on a tangent about that. There
Not
was
so much
some
like,
disagreement
but
about that.
the rigor of their course is such that there would be a high percentage.
Right.
Yeah, that there would be a high percentage, but I'm not clear on what exactly the consensus was on that here in the group.
We all hope none of us are those.
Yeah.
So how about
none of us
why,
thinks we are.
I know you guys got to the second question a little bit later, but we could go
did.
backwards, we could start with you. So do you have anything
Well,
on
we
why
just
we
said
need?
that we need to give the students the tools they're lacking to climb the mountain, the tools they need to do it, and that those would include motivation, being sort of a cheerleader for them, and also giving them one-on-one support.
You guys, and what do you have for the second
We
question?
had bridges the gap from the classroom and the outside support that some students need, and it helps them to be ready to move to the next level, whatever course they end up taking, and then reinforces the concept. Some people just need that, and they didn't learn how to do that. There's value in homework and studying and that kind of thing. So that's where we can come into play to show them good work habits. And how to save tests, quizzes, and go back and look at those and study those and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Great. And what do you guys have on the second question?
The one-on-one we thought was important, reinforcement, helping them build a helping community or a learning community, someone that they can, will help them with their struggles and so on.
Yeah, so I don't even know if we need to have the session now.
That's right.
So this was, we sort of did it this way because this is kind of what the SI environment is like. The one thing that a lot of you said that it's not is one-on-one, but it is community building. It's helping students learn study habits. I mean, even though it might be around a particular course, which we'll talk about, it has sort of this overall goal of having them learn concepts, not necessarily just do my homework with me, and to learn these study skills that they come in kind of lacking. And then some of the other things you mentioned are still challenges for us, as you'll see, as we've implemented SI. But
Do you have subject specialists for all of these? Is it only math, or do you have a variety of
yeah,
choices?
we'll show you.
We'll get to that in kind of but right now, we just piloted with math, and again, we'll talk about that.
And you're a mathematician?
No. But the national model, and we're going to show you data from the National Center for SI, is all subjects. It's just that we had limited resources and we started with math because it has high DFW rates.
Yes. So just, so I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but to give an extremely brief history on supplemental instruction. So it actually was developed, so it's an international model, and it was developed in 1973 by Deanna Martin. I'm not going to get into the details of how it was developed, but since it started then and it's been it's kind of housed at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And it started off kind of small, and now there's 2,500 institutions involved in that, and it's prevalent in 30 different countries. So, and again, because it's an international model, the University of Missouri, Kansas City kind of houses it. So what we, just to give a little idea of what we did, so we actually contacted them. We brought one of their trainers in over winter break to do a training on supplemental instruction, train the faculty, the students, and that way we got a good idea of what it was, because most of us students hadn't heard about it, faculty necessarily hadn't heard about it. So it was a new concept for Southern in general. So what supplemental instruction does, and it's done in multiple ways, and we'll show you how we broke it down at Southern, but it's mainly group facilitated sessions. And so what happens is there's an actual, so you've got a faculty member, you've got a supplemental instruction leader, which is a student, you've got the students in a certain class, and then you've got your SI, your supplemental instruction supervisor. And the students, so there's a supplemental instruction leader that's attached to, say, a course, but a section of a course. So let's say you've got, let's say you're in, and we'll show you our breakdown, but let's say you're in Math 120, for example, and let's say there's 5 sections. You should have a supplemental instruction leader in each one of those sections. So then they're very specific to that cohort, and they're working very closely with that faculty member to make sure that when they lead these group facilitated sessions, that it is specific to that course material that's being taught from that faculty member. So when we say group facilitated sessions, now this ranges. When the trainer came in, he talked about at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, they have usually 3 or so sessions, group sessions for those students in that specific section every week that they go through a variety of different topics. And it's offered, so these sessions are offered to all of the students in that class. They're regularly scheduled, so they will come up with a time that fits, that works for those specific students in that class, and that's when they're gonna hold those group sessions, for example, every single week through the semester. They also have what's called an office hour, and they'll have that every single week. And then they'll have planning time that they're given to, because they have to plan for those group sessions. So they have planning time as well, and they also sit in on the class. Now the traditional SI model is that they sit on every single one of those classes. And these sessions are done, again, outside of the class, so it's not, it's something that students, it's voluntary and anonymous. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that data piece and why it's more voluntary and anonymous, but that equals students having the ability to come to the session, maybe when they're struggling, and it doesn't, it doesn't put the pressure on them saying, oh, if you have a C or below, that you are mandated to come to this. And it can, sometimes that can change the culture of the session. But the idea behind that voluntary and anonymous is that students feel comfortable to come to that session, get the help that they need, don't maybe necessarily feel embarrassed about not knowing some of that information, but then coming and getting the help that they need, and then also doing well in that class.
And if I can just jump in for 1 second, the anonymous part means that it's anonymous in terms of that faculty member does not know who in their class is attending sessions. So obviously the Academic Success Center knows, that's how Katie will be gathering data. They know, the SI leader knows, but the faculty member does not know whether the student getting an A or the student getting a D is one of the students. The faculty member knows how many of their students maybe are attending SI sessions, but not who.
What's the idea behind that?
The idea behind that is really, it's sort of getting us into the next the slide
Yeah,
here.
I would say,
But
yeah,
no, it's
that's a good
okay.
idea.
It's okay because we can. The idea is that it's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be punitive, right? So it's not supposed to be the kind of thing where a faculty member says, if you got below a 65 on this test, then you must attend next week's SI sessions. The idea is that you get a mix of students that want to be there, that are somewhat motivated to try to learn the concepts together, and then you get a mix of students. So you get a mix of the students who are there because they want to go from a B to an A, as well as the students that want to go from a D to a C, and those students are all helping each other. So that's, we had a lot of conversations during the faculty training about that, actually, because a lot of faculty want to use it the other way. The faculty want to say, I want to send my students that are not doing well. But then it becomes more about like remediation as opposed to what they want this to be, which is a way of getting students to learn in a group session how to answer their questions, how to get deeper into the concepts, not just, show me how to do these review problems so that I'm ready for tomorrow's test.
Well, and that's the biggest difference between kind of this idea of tutoring and supplemental instruction. So the students these days want to know what's the answer to question number 2, right? And then they want to go to class, they want that A on that homework, but that doesn't help them understand that concept or that material. So the idea behind SI is to really understand that material, which can be a little offsetting. When we were talking, when the trainer came, he said a lot of students don't like that method because they want that quick fix. But SI really forces that student or helps that student have that knowledge base so then they can continue to understand the concepts as they move along in, say, that math course or that chemistry course or whatever that would be, and then help them in that following course. If they have to take another math course, for example, they're going to have to know those concepts and apply them in that following math course.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Do your students need tutoring in addition to this? I'm seeing 1 hour, that's not even enough to help you with your homework and get the right answer. It's like it's a big issue.
Yeah, well, so there's also tutoring available in the center
Yes.
that students can go and get extra tutoring outside of the supplemental instructor if they want.
I guess that was my question.
I don't know how many, you could answer that better than me.
Well, part of it is we'll find out with some of the data as the semester ends, because this is our first semester. I mean, I would say most of the students that are in the courses, which will show you, that come to SI, don't necessarily come to the tutoring. So SI seems to be sufficient enough for them. Those students that actually do come to tutoring that we see are in the math courses that we have SI for, we actually talk to them a little bit and say, have you heard of supplemental instruction? Crazy enough, as much as there are SI leaders in the class, you have students that say, no, what is SI? And so then we go through and we explain it, and then we say, we'd like you to try this out. You can parallel both the tutoring and the SI, but we'd like you to really try these SI sessions out because this helps you as it's geared towards your specific section of that course. And so that usually helps the students get kind of understand that. We do have students that will do SI and tutoring because they need that help. Those are also the extremely motivated students that really want to do well in the class and that maybe struggle understanding, say, math in general, that they need both of them, but we don't see that very often.
And
repeat
it's not
the
that they
session.
would never sit and do problems, but the difference is that they don't sit and have a tutor show them how to do a problem. So they might have, like, before a test, there might be a review packet that the faculty member puts together, and maybe right before midterm, that's what an SI session will look like, is that they're working on those problems. But the big change in the paradigm from tutoring to SI is that all the questions go back to the students. And, well, where could you find that answer? So that the SI leaders are taught to redirect questions back to the students constantly. So you're not just telling them, here's how you do it. You're telling them in your group, okay, so you all want to figure out how to do this problem. Where can you find an example in your book? Where could you find that in your notes? Talk in your group and figure out where you could find a resource, because that's the part of teaching them how to study. Because what happens often in tutoring is that they just go in and say, show me how to do this problem, but they don't they walk out knowing how to do that problem, but they haven't walked out knowing how to study.
We're doing that in our embedded course, so another 3 credits for embed support in our math courses, and that's a much more expensive model than this.
Oh, the embedded tutoring?
It's an embedded class, it's not embedded tutoring. It's we have a intermediate algebra where you go to lecture, and then you have a 3-credit lab dealing with additional problems, homework problems, where the teacher is available but won't give you the answer, but is doing exactly what you're saying. And how do you know, how do you figure it out?
Well, and sometimes I will also add that sometimes we'll have a lot of the planning sessions for the math. We have a lot of the SI leaders that will create their own list of problems and worksheets that they will bring to the group sessions, and they will have the students work in groups, and those problems are specific to the topics that they're working on that week, which the SI leaders have done a fantastic job in planning that.
Yeah, and I think we forgot to bring this, but the institute, the SI Institute, has a pack of, I don't know how many little
60
cards.
or
like,
70.
They're little activity cards. So they're like they're ideas for the SI leaders, like 10 to 15-minute activities that they can use around whatever concept it is they want to reinforce. So, students are having a hard time with inverse trig functions and pre-calculus. So here's this 10 to 15-minute activity that you can build around that concept to get the students starting to talk about it and to understand the concept more, and then maybe you move into having them doing some problems on it or something like that. So that's how they sort of create their lesson plans and organize a particular session.
And the group sessions are mainly, so you have you have kind of 3 different breakdowns in the groups. You've got your kind of your intro activity, your middle activity, and kind of your ending activity. So maybe your intro activity is, you think this, a lot of our math SI leaders will do this. It's a 1-minute paper on, they'll give the topic that they're talking about today. So, all right, 1 minute, write what you remember about this topic, right? And so then they have the students share those pieces, so then they know what the students know and what they're missing on that topic, and that helps them move forward, say, with that next activity to say, okay, so let's focus on this type of a problem. I want you guys in groups to work on this problem. So it really, it's so tailored to the support for the students that come to those sessions.
Did you have a question, or?
Just about, I know this is a pilot, but does every section of Math 105, I think you said, have an SI assigned to it?
Well,
So we're getting there.
We're getting there. So, yes, we don't have lots of time.
No.
Okay, so we'll go really quickly through this. This is not our data. This is the national data that comes from the center. So they collect data on all the programs that participate with them and that submit data. And so the blue shows you SI students, the yellow shows you non-SI. This is showing percent DFW rates. This is across all kinds of courses, and we'll show you breakdowns of different kinds of courses in a minute. But you can see it goes down, and so probably everybody in this room is primarily interested in 4-year public
or
two-year public institutions. This chart shows you
Kind of that percentage of the final
mean
grade.
final grade across all these different types of institutions. Again, the blue is the SI, so the mean final grade is a little higher than non-SI students.
I don't understand the y-axis.
So
GPA.
that's GPA,
So
so that's a
3.0 would be a B.
It's GPA for that course.
For that course. That's the average grade for that course on a 4.0 GPA scale, yeah. So
notice, like,
So
it-
basically, you're going from, something close to something a little bit higher than a C to a little higher than a C plus, to B minus-ish range.
And what they say for SI, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but if students attend 6 or more SI sessions, then they should, if they're attending an SI session and not listening and not participating, that's a different story. But if they attend 6 or more sessions, they should see either a half a grade to an entire full grade increase. So that, that's huge.
So, and that's, 700,000 some students they've collected data on.
And this is they started in 2005 and this is all the way up to.
This is 10 years of data.
Yeah.
So this shows you across disciplines. So you can see it really, they use it in all different disciplines. We didn't put the pie chart here. The primary disciplines from what they showed us are math,
Natural
the sciences, and humanities.
So you're going to see that in the STEM areas. That seems to be where they use it more often.
When he came and did the training, he talked a lot about history. I guess
Yes,
history
history.
uses this kind of model quite a bit.
Do you happen to comment on why computer actually goes down with eyesight?
Well,
No, I don't know why that.
they
Yeah.
didn't. We only focused on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then again, but the mean final grade was
much
higher.
if you look
So
at it.
but I don't know why with the DFW, yeah.
This gives you an idea of kind of the national data of supplemental instruction and why it's so used. Which is also why I think based on that data, you can see why we wanted to implement this at Southern. So at Southern, they have been really focusing on student success and that academic support. And Terry shared in the very beginning that we really haven't had that academic support until they developed the Academic Success Center. So the idea behind the Academic Success Center was really to vamp up that academic support for those students in all areas, and look at those high DFW courses, which is where that collaboration with math has become so. That's where it's started in providing that, but.
I don't know that we're the only department that has high DFW
Lots of
rates.
STEM areas.
But certainly in a lot of the introductory courses and we've been particularly concerned at Southern about the entry into STEM majors. And so, of course, pre-calculus and calculus are those gateway courses into STEM majors. So you'll see that's 2 of the courses that we picked. So we picked pre-calculus, we picked calculus. Out of these courses, pre-calculus actually has the highest DFW rate for us at Southern. And then we also picked college algebra and elementary algebra. So
up here it shows each section of each of those courses and how many SI leaders are kind of divided up. So math 120, for example, you'll see that there's 5 sections. However, the faculty member, for example, you see the 3 SI leaders. However, 2 of those SI leaders actually had 2 of the sections because it was the same faculty member.
So these are so you're going to start to see the modifications that we had to make based on budget. So we'll show you the budget we had in a second, which was very small. But that's why not every section has its own SI leader. If we had the money, we would have done that.
Just kind of like a side note, because I know that we kind of experienced the same thing when students get the pre-calc, some members can't seem to go for it. Do you find that it could be more of a curriculum flow? Because we kind of focus on developmental and then we focus on upper level, and there isn't that flow from the 120 to 122. So there's like a gap, gaps here.
Well, we definitely think that's true at Southern. I know at the community colleges, this is not the topic of this session necessarily, but the community colleges, students don't go straight from intermediate algebra to pre-calculus. They take college algebra between. Yeah. But at the state universities, that's not true. And so since PA 1240, actually, we have noticed in the past 3 years the DFW rate in pre-calculus has gone way up. Because the students, and particularly the students coming from intermediate algebra at the community colleges, they're not ready to go right into pre-calculus with us. And so we are actually looking at a curricular change. But we also did this to try to help, to help in the meantime while we get curricular changes through, yeah.
Are they supposed to go from intermediate algebra right into pre-calculus, not into your college algebra?
Yes, yes, it's been that way for years at all the state universities, yeah.
Why do you have the 120? Oh, for
The 120, the
non-STEM?
120 is for the 120 is for business majors, yeah.
So how many students you average in your class?
We have that data in a
We'll get that
second.
in a
We have,
second.
we'll show you, yeah. And then, I don't know if you want to say something about what we did with elementary. but-
Sure. So with Math 95, so that was kind of, so how we came up with these courses, not only did we look at the DFW rates, but Terry invited me to one of their faculty meetings, and this is how we came up with how we would organize the classes based on kind of the money that we had and how the breakdown would be. And the math faculty, I can tell you, have been so supportive of supplemental instruction. I've been so excited to get this moving forward. It has been fantastic. And so this is how we came up in that meeting. We came up with kind of the different math breakdown. And Math 95, so Math 95 is our elementary algebra. So there were 6 sections, and you see that there's 2 SI leaders. Part of that is we ran out of money. And so the other piece was that in Math 95 seems, and you can talk a little bit more about the curriculum maybe, but that curriculum piece is a little bit more aligned than some of the other courses. And so 2 SI leaders could help support all 6 sections. And they ended up having we'll go through kind of what all the other SI leader breakdowns were for group sessions and such, but these 2 SI leaders had more group sessions, had more planning hours, had more office hours to reach those 6 sections of students. So we modified that just a little bit, and part of that was because of our budgetary constraints.
So this just gives you a little bit of the budget, but Katie was only given $20,000 to do this. And so the first modification we made is that we did not require the SI leaders to attend every class because we couldn't pay them to attend every class. So they had to go once a week to class. The second modification is they only had 2 group sessions per week. I think the traditional SI model is more. The traditional SI model pays students per course for 10 hours a week. And we couldn't do that and have it, reach as many of these courses. So we sort of in consultation with the person from Kansas City, we modified it like this, and this is what the SI leaders are doing. And so with this cost, we were able to support all the sections that you saw on the previous slide.
And so far, and all of these SI sessions, I will add, are held in the Academic Success Center. So that gets the students to the Academic Success Center. We have a variety of different rooms in there that are conducive for SI. We have different technologies there. We have, whiteboard. We have 2 touchscreen TVs that they can use to have them do problems. And actually, one of a previous picture, you could see them actually writing on the TV. We have multiple kind of whiteboards that you roll in and out, and you have, for example, in this picture here, that's a mediascape, and so they kind of all pull around in this half circle, and there's a whiteboard right there that they can write on. There's also supposed to be a TV that's part of that. We're working on that. But this is great because this is all done in the center, and so there's one central kind of location that students know that they've got to go here for their sessions, for the office hour, their questions for SI.
So our initial data is actually somewhat disappointing. It's been difficult to get students to buy in for whatever reason. And we were told at the initial training, he said, sometimes it takes a university 2 or 3 semesters until students actually hear from other students about SI and what it is and how it's different from tutoring. This is how many students attended SI sessions so far this semester. And
You're in week 14?
So we're in week 5th.
No, we're not in week 15.
This is spring semester now, right?
Yeah, this is spring semester now. No, we're not in week 14. This might be off by one. We
I think
actually,
we're off by 1 week.
yeah, we have 3
No, 'cause-
more weeks. Yeah, so this is off. Yeah. Yeah, this is off. I didn't notice that. No, it's not projected. It's not projected. So never mind about what week number it is. This is spring break, which was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yes.
No, we started week 4 instead of week 1.
Well,
No, because so week 1 was the week that they attended class.
Okay.
And so so they started in that class. That's when they polled the students in that section. And that's when they figured out when they were gonna hold their group session. So week 1 isn't included because there would have been no attendance. Week 2 and 3, we didn't really have attendance because it was so new, so they had the group sessions. And starting in week 4 is when we started having that attendance. So
yeah, so I don't know what.
somehow we've
I don't
had
know
that
what's-
amount of weeks, but, and you can see week 4 and 5, this is about when that first test was. And so it kind of spiked, and then it went down a little bit, and by week...
This was midterms.
That was midterm, second exam, then you had spring break, and these last 2 weeks, they've been recovering because we haven't seen many. This week, I haven't looked at the data necessarily, the attendance rates this week, but that technically, based on the weeks, it would be week 15, but somehow that seems really off
so
based on
something-
the counting, but...
Well, 1 week earlier maybe, but yes, at any rate. This kind of shows you more per section, or per course anyway. So across the top, that's the total number of students enrolled in these courses this semester. And on the bottom, you can see how many of those students have attended at least one session. And so it's disappointing, and maybe it's not surprising that the higher up you go in course, the more invested the students are. I mean, I think it's good, actually, that 38% of our calculus students are going. I mean, this is very disappointing, and I don't know if it's just the nature of, I mean, we're debating, you'll see in our last slide, we're debating whether to do Math 95 again in the fall when we have actually a lot more sections, and those are incoming freshmen, and maybe they'll look at it differently. Most of the students in Math 95 in a spring semester are the ones who are repeating. So maybe maybe it's a different mindset. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it's because they don't have an SI leader that's coming to every single class with them, so they don't know them or hear about it as much. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that other than it's disappointing because there's so much support there for them that's not getting used.
And you can see, I mean, although small number, there are several students that have attended more than 6 sessions, even more than 10 sessions. Some have attended up to 15 sessions, so there would have been about 28 total sessions, and some have attended 2 of those, the 1 and the 1 from Math 122 and from Math 150 have attended 15 sessions. So they are continuously coming, which is great. So I know that's only 1 student in each of those areas, but they're attending quite a few sessions.
So these are our challenges. I know we're sort of cutting into lunchtime right now, so I don't want to go too long, but we're trying to figure out how do we improve attendance. Already there are some math faculty who are teaching classes where no one is gone. And they're saying, well, why are we spending the money on this resource when maybe we could be spending it someplace else? Although I think after 1 semester, maybe it's too soon to totally admit, it's a pilot and we want to try to run it for a while to see if we can change it. But we definitely think there's benefits for the leaders. So whether the students in the class are going or not, certainly the students who are the faculty, the SI leaders are getting a lot of benefits that they'll be able to use afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't put the pay. These are the non-monetary benefits. Yeah. And then these are our future plans. We plan to do an evaluation, a grade comparison at the end. So again, because it's anonymous, Katie will pull the grades and sort of look at the SI versus non-SI grades. We want to do a survey of the students at the end and actually try to ask them questions about why if you did not go, what kept you from going? Did you not know about it? Did you not, were the hours not good? Whatever it was. And then we want to try to do a focus group with the SI leaders to see what input they have. And then that's kind of our plan for next fall.
Well, and I will add too, as much as we're looking at that kind of that final grade comparison, we did do a piece where I got to see some of, where I was sent the first exam grades. And I looked at kind of who came to SI and what their kind of that first exam grade was for them. And I will say those that had come multiple times had some of the highest grades for their first exam in the class. So, I mean, that's where, and we'll be able to, once we get to see those final grades, we'll be able to really share that stat with the students. I mean, we couldn't necessarily share that statistic with the students because this is the first semester of use, but the hope is by fall, we can, you know, we can have the SI leaders all say, look, last semester, this is what happened to the students that came, you know? So I think that'll make, I mean, the hope is that that will continue to build and grow and the students will continue to know more about that.
So, yeah.
But as you said, we don't know whether that A was due to the fact that that was an A student who was going
Right.
through.
Right,
The
right.
insurance of A, you know,
Right.
it's very hard to do the statistics to.
Yeah. But one thing that we're hoping, you know, I know just from talking to one student who's my advisee, actually, she's a math major, and I was asking her how it was going, and she said, well, I have a couple students that started coming after midterm, and they were failing at midterm, and now they're getting Cs. So, I mean, that's the kind of, you know, so that's the kind of thing that we can't really pull out until the end of the semester.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
That's the
Anyway, thank you for coming.
Thank you.